You're on air with Jaimee. And welcome, Erin. I am honestly so excited to have you on the show. We start all of my episodes off with what's hot and what's not in the industry this week.
What's hot and what's not? I'm hot right now.
It's so hot.
I'm from Melbourne and we're in Queensland and I'm sweating. So there's that. No, what's hot and what's not? Okay, what's not, and it's only because we were just having this conversation, but it's also something I've been thinking about a lot, is the industry, I believe, has become less of a let's start a business and more of a let's build a franchise. Because people are becoming carbon copies of one another. You are seeing it. People are hiring the same brand designers. They are saying the same pop words. They are using the same language. They are launching the same products. It's like we have built a system of, well, not we, because
we're not doing it.
We're not doing it. But what I see is a lot of people doing it is someone has built a system of success that worked for them, their personality and their energetic type and all of these things. And then they don't have an expanded view of what works for multiple different people. So when they bring clients into their space, it literally is like here's the blueprint, go and drag and drop this.
Yeah.
It has then just created not only this whole concept of so many people trying to fit somebody else's version of success into their life, so therefore that leads to burnout, inauthenticity, things that, feeling anxious because you're acting out of alignment to what's true for you. But from the consumer perspective, we're just seeing people that look exactly the same.
Like you cannot tell them apart.
You cannot tell them apart. Like you absolutely cannot. Like one follows you and then another follows you and you're just like, I thought you were the same person, in all honesty. And like it happened first of all with the Notes app screenshots where everybody's marketing was like the Notes app screenshot. And now it's like, okay, now we realize that branding is actually important because branding is fucking important. Yeah. But then now they're all hiring the same brand designers and their brand is like a really cool brand, but it all looks identical.
Exactly the same.
So I would say what's not hot in the industry at the moment is the franchise model versus the
actual personal
brand. What is hot, however, and this is something that I wouldn't say is necessarily new, but maybe it's my perspective, or as we've been talking about, my attention, is that I'm seeing a rise in like activism in women. Again, it could be my attention. I'm sure this stuff has been around for a long time. Activism in women has been around for a long time, but more championing the individual female voice.
Yeah.
What are your beliefs? What is your mission? What are your values? What's your story? Because value-based content isn't working as well because anybody can make a video around here's the 3 top tips to get better sleep. What is starting to work more is originality, authenticity, vulnerability, and story. And with that, we're seeing so much courage.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of what you've got to do at the moment. You have to be willing to push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
Say, this is what I stand for, and this is why I stand for it, because this is my story. And so because of that, it's just opening up a much deeper level of conversation, which I'm all here for.
Yes, I love that. I feel like it's a little bit of the audacity as well. Like the audacity to just do the fucking thing.
Yeah, to just do the fucking thing, to just be your fucking self.
Yeah.
And it takes courage, don't get me wrong. Like telling the truth. Someone sent me a video this morning, which I think is so profound, but it's more normal to not tell the truth in today's society. And by that means not being your authentic self.
Yeah.
It's more normal to put yourself into a box. It's more normal to play by the rules. It's more normal to abide by the status quo. That's what's normal, even though, in fact, it's actually not normal.
Yes.
What should be normal is that, just like we spoke about on my podcast that we just recorded, is that what should be normal is that we are exactly who we are.
Yeah.
Not we act as who we think we need to be.
Yes.
So it takes a lot of audacity and a damn lot of courage
to do that. Yes. Oh, I'm so excited for this conversation. You are the original Chillpreneur. And what I really wanted to talk to you about was actually what that means. Because what I know that we share this opinion on is we've seen this like whole movement, right? We went from the hashtag boss babe hustle era. We're not in that era anymore. That's gone. And now we're in the like flow and alignment, and, you know, spirituality has become the normal thing, right?
Yeah.
But do you think that we have taken it too far,
Yeah.
and that we are trying to be too chill and less actually taking action and doing the thing?
It's so funny you asked that question, because I actually had a really profound conversation about that the other day. I have a belief that in life, when anything is new and emerging, so everything has a life cycle, and you can visualize it as a bell curve.
Yeah.
It's called, the first stage is infancy.
Yes.
It goes into growth,
Yep.
maturity, decline, and decease.
Yes.
Everything in life has a life cycle. Some of it can span over 1,000,000 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
humanity.
Humans.
Let's not get into where we are in that life cycle right now. But anyway, everything has a life cycle. It can span over a very long period of time. Every industry has a life cycle. These online businesses, let's just call that, let's just lump it all into one. These are still very much in its growth phase.
Yes.
It is absolutely not hit peak or anywhere near maturity.
Yeah.
You know, they've said that the online education space is projected to massively grow by 2027, become a $1 trillion industry. That's huge.
Yeah.
What happens when you're in growth is extremists. So I visualize everything as a pendulum. When something in it, it's like the Wild West, right? When something is in its growth phase, there's no standards, there's no kind of, you know, we haven't just settled into the normal way of doing something, because that's what happens when things hit maturity. Your systems are a little more structured.
Yeah.
And so when we are in this growth phase, it is like a lot of like the try anything and see what sticks kind of thing. Now, what that does is it leads to a lot of extremist behavior. So we went from one side, I visualize it like a pendulum. We went from one side, which was the hustle, and one side of it, which was the flow. And it actually, we've just talked about 2 examples of this, but it has actually swung back and forth. In my time, it went from the bro marketing era to the like, let's do it very lazily kind of era, back into a bit of hustle, and now we're back into the womb space era, as I'm calling it.
Yeah.
You know, where it very much is about like pop spirituality words and all of this kind of stuff. And it's like it's all about alignment. It's all about, again, all the pop words, right? And it will swing back and forth. The extremists in these scenarios aren't bad. You know what I mean? But what is the problem is when the extremists market to the middle, because that then is creating a lot of like, you know, I'm an extremist person, this is the way that I do it, something, but like I've created something that's for everyone. The pendulum is going to keep swinging in these extremist things, and we learn lessons and take lessons until we finally settle in the middle. That's when we'll hit the growth phase of this industry. That's when we'll hit the maturity phase, where everything just feels a little bit more stable. So when it comes to like the hustle and flow side of things, yes, there is a middle, and most people operate in the middle. Even though the pendulum's swinging, like from what we're hearing as the main conversation, still most people operate in the middle. Yeah. And I think what the middle looks like is different for everyone.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't think the application of Chillpreneur is necessarily describable, because it's going to look different for every single human being. Everyone has different energy production, so their ability to work is going to be different. It's all about finding your version of what being a chillpreneur is. And really, if I was going to give it one description, it's just not working to the point of burnout.
Yeah.
Building something in a sustainable way for you. For some people, it's working 4 hours a day. For some people, it's working 6. For some people, it's working 8. For some people, it's working every second day. There is no perfect description of what a chillpreneur looks like. It's just building whatever you're building in life, whether that's muscles or a business, in a sustainable way for you.
Yeah, I love that. What does being a chillpreneur look like for you? Because I know that you are in a phase at the moment of like momentum and growth and doing the things.
Yeah. For me, I like seasons.
Yes.
So I've talked about this in life, in business. I just think that everything comes in seasons. Sometimes you're in summer where you're out and you're doing all the things, and sometimes you're in winter and you're like just going in a little bit and going behind the scenes. Like every season can look different. And again, this is what is personal to me, because I can work in sprints. You know what I mean? But they have to be relatively short. So for us at the moment, we are in what I would classify to be a season of a sprint. We're backlogging a crap ton of content. We're on this podcast tour right now. We're getting 6 episodes, which will last 12 weeks, so 3 months worth of content. And then doing, 2 little mini mastermind things simultaneously.
Yes.
For the average person, it's still not a lot of work. But, it is like a season or a sprint of work for me. This is also that for the next 3 months we can go travel.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like we're going to do a lot of stuff to set ourselves up. So I just like look to the future and I'm like, can I sustain 4 weeks of a little bit more work so that then I can take 3 months of doing nothing? I mean, the start of this year has been more work because I pretty much right up until maybe November took most of 2022 as a season of play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't really build a lot. 2021 was a season of building for me. 2022, I just kind of traveled.
Yeah.
I traveled like 9 times or something like that. So I just look to the future and I'm think, oh, well, do I have the capacity to put my head down, bum up and focus for this period of time? But for me, I have to have the light at the end of the tunnel. I have to have the reward. It's not like I'm just going to focus now in this season. It's like, why is it? Well, whatever's coming in the future.
Yeah. So it's like strategic imbalance.
Yeah.
You've strategically imbalanced your balance here. Because everyone's like, it's all about balance, like balancing the work and play. But it's not really. It's about, that strategically doing the work now so that you've got that period of play, right?
And I think it goes back to kind of like sports as well. It's rest. It's work and recovery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you want to build muscle, I don't know a lot about bodybuilding, by the way, so don't cancel me. But what I do know from sports in general is that if you want to, you tear a muscle, right? You work a muscle, and then you rest it, and it actually builds when you rest it. You know what I mean? Why so many people are burning out is because they are always working. You know what I mean? And that's where the sustainability piece comes in. It's like going back and forth between like working, resting is how you'll actually grow, is how you can build that sustainability into it. It's just that most people have built business models where it's always work, always go, always build, always grow. And again, like you can either just do it slowly and sustainably, but regardless of whether you do it fast or slow, you still need that period of rest. Otherwise, you will burn out.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. Something I really love about your business is that even though you promote Chillpreneur and flow over hustle and all the things, something that I love is that everything is still done to an impeccably high standard. And I think, and I know that you're excited to talk about this because I think that this online space has gotten so into the chill and flow that we've actually just gotten lazy. And I know that you share that opinion, and I would love to speak to you on that because while you are chill and incredibly down to earth, everything is still literally done exactly to that, an impeccably high standard.
Yeah, and I do have impeccably high standards for what I put out in business, and it never negates the chill. Like, why I have an impeccably high standards is because my customers deserve it.
Yeah.
If you're going to invest money in me to be in a course, to be in a program, I want you to have an impeccable experience. The problem is it's not actually that much harder. It's more of an ego-based decision than it is. It's like, oh, I can do it.
But why would I bother?
People be like, oh, I can just sell a course for $2,000 and go live in a Facebook group, so I will.
Yeah.
It's no harder to set up a camera, record yourself professionally and put it on Kajabi. It really doesn't take that much more effort. You think it does, but if you're making $1 million a month, then it really doesn't, because hire someone to sit behind the camera and do it for you. You know what I mean? Make that investment. It's just, it's a choice not to. And it comes from ego of being like, my energy is the gift, is the product. And so I don't have to put the bells and whistles on that because people are paying for me. That's not fucking true. I'm sorry, but that's not true. People are paying for an experience with you.
Yeah.
And experience being the operative word in that sentence. And if you're not willing to make an incredible, incredible experience, you might have people that enter that and love you for you, but you're really only marketing yourself then to one type of buyer, the people who just love you for you. And that's completely unsustainable.
Yeah.
Because the more that then people have, we saw it. in the coaching space right now, there was someone who for a very long time sat at the top of this like wealth coaching tree who is now being sued because of not providing an incredible customer experience. People wanting their money back, being like, I didn't pay $2,000 to be in a Facebook group, you know? And so this whole ego-based, like, let me take the path of least resistance is actually just a guise for what I think is one big ego boost.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so high and mighty that I will do the bare minimum, and people should just want to just pay to be even in the slightest bit of proximity to me.
Yes.
Like that's prostitution. You know?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because if you're creating a product for people, I'm not sending out my products in janky ass packaging. And that's why I have such a high standards around these things. And I don't think for someone at later stages, if you are just starting out, different story.
Yeah.
Just starting out, trying to find your way and have no technical background. But I'm talking about the people in these higher up positions. Hire someone. If you really can't do it, if you really don't know how to use any other program other than Facebook, hire someone to do it for you. Invest in that for your customers.
And I know that's been a big journey for you, especially this year, the hiring and the outsourcing. Can you talk it through, like, what that was like for you? Someone who essentially was, you know, the whole solopreneur, mainly doing things on your own, to then expand into quite a large team. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And as some people would say, that would dysregulate your nervous system.
Well, it kind of did, to be honest, I will say, because I chose to do everything at once in terms of not like everything in business, but I also then decided to go on the pathway to finally doing therapy, which we all know if you've done it is like a one big ass, open the lid, let it all come out.
Let it all come out.
But yeah, it was like for such a long time, I did everything. Why it's been more difficult is just because I've had to simultaneously learn a new way of working while still also trying to honor myself.
Yeah.
Because I have always been I have an idea, bah, put it on the internet kind of person, you know what I mean? And like that has worked pretty well for me for a very long time. Obviously, again, I have a high standards of things and I'll have an idea and then I'll just create it with those high standards and then post it to the internet. But now it goes through a lot more of a process. You know, there is like content that is created a month and a half in advance and it needs to be approved for something. Like I'm approving content now for June. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot slower. It's a different process. There's a lot more voices. And so I've had to establish a new way of working, which is very scalable. What I was doing before isn't that scalable. You know what I mean? Like I was saying in a live the other day that I want to explore new levels of freedom. I have an incredibly freedom-based business now. But what would a business look like where I could take 2 months off, you know, entirely? Like I need a team for that. You know what I mean? I need to be able to batch content and then have someone distribute that for me. So it doesn't seem like I'm gone, but I am. And so I have to be okay with establishing that new way of working, but simultaneously to that, still seeing myself at the top of like the visionary, the leader, the like at the end of the day, like, this is my face, this is my voice, this is my legacy, this is my mission. Like I need to make sure that I'm having the courage to put my foot down when something doesn't feel in alignment with my mission.
I want to know, because I know that this is a big objection with people when it comes to especially outsourcing content creation.
Yeah.
Because as personal brands, obviously it's us, it's our energy, it's us infused into everything. And that's the energy, that's the legacy. I literally spoke about legacy on my Instagram stories the other day. It's really being able to evoke an emotion in people that lasts beyond you, right? How do you do that when you have a team that are essentially creating the content for you?
I wouldn't actually outsource my personal brand.
Yes.
Okay. So my Erin May Henry page is still absolutely created by me and will be for forever. Yeah. You know, it'll look different as I start my 45 different businesses that I want to start. And it will be more about me as an entrepreneur and less about teaching, branding, business, and influence.
Yes.
We've outsourced the Chillpreneur company.
Yes.
A few things. It's about finding the right people. You know, I think that my team one of my team members was a client of mine, so I already know that I've attracted them because of that alignment of values, but I haven't gone and hired a completely different demographic of people. Like they are similar age, similar vibe, similar style, similar voice, similar perspective, similar values, so the demographics and psychographics are similar. You know, so the tonality is still there. I have enough content to be distributed till the end of time, to be honest.
10 years on the internet will do that.
Yeah. So like there's enough of me that they have skill enough to be able to turn that so it still has the essence of what I created. The thing is as well, I am able to just let go a little bit because it's not actually me that they're building at this point in time. It's got the reason why this all came in the beginning, but this is another part of it. I also have to let go and let the Chillpreneur company grow as its own thing.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yes.
And that's what, now it's a collaborative effort, as long as it's still rooted in mission and values.
Yeah.
As long as that mission and the values is there and seeps into everything, it's okay if it sounds a little bit different. It's okay if like it's got other voices coming through. You know what I mean? Like that's fine and that creates a more collaborative experience. But the hardest part, was like letting go of that reign a little bit.
Yeah, it's like your baby, right?
Yeah.
And I know like you've literally been on the internet for the better part of 10 years or more. And that's actually something I'd love to talk to you about, because what we are seeing at the moment is the rise of this like overnight success entrepreneur, right? And something really interesting that we spoke about earlier today was that you don't think that it's inspirational to be like, yeah, but everything I've built is based on, 10 years of work, right?
Yeah.
But do you think that like, that may not be inspirational, aspirational. Like everyone wants everything now. That is the reality of the world that we live in. But is it the reality of the space? It's not really.
No, it's not. And my journey is extremely realistic.
Exactly.
It's just not as marketable.
Yeah.
The average overnight success is 11 years.
Yes.
So it's the average of how long it takes actually businesses. If you take all the businesses and averaged out how long it takes for them to be successful, it's 11 years. So people are giving up after 3 months, thinking that they're a failure, making it mean that that you are not an entrepreneur, you suck, you can't sell, because 3 months in, they didn't go viral and make $1 million. Extreme example, but that's how some people are feeling, you know? And you asked me earlier about like, how do I actually have this freedom-based business? It's all because of compounding. That word is literally how I have what I have today. I've compounded my brand, both, strategically. Like if you go search Chillpreneur or Erin May Henry, there's 4 or 5 pages on Google. That's a compounding effect. That's years and years and years of articles being written about me, YouTube videos. Like I call it compound marketing. And there's strategic things you can do, like where you're focusing the platforms. Like if you're just doing Reels, you're not compounding anything. If you just do Instagram stories, you're not compounding anything. Nobody's writing an article on that Instagram story you did 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Because it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's disappeared. So there is strategy involved in it. But it is this, and mind you, when we talk about a decade, we're talking about a very like windy road. I've been doing the business I have now since 2017.
Yes.
So if we were to mark even just, that's a little more inspirational, I guess, but for the last 6 years, I have compounded my marketing and I've compounded my offerings in my business. Now, the money that I can make for the next 2 months, if I were to take 2 months off my business, I could make 2-3 months complete still, running the business and everything just because of the recurring revenue from the previous products that I've sold. Then compounding the brand around my products. I was talking to, I've created new products and sometimes it takes a little while for them to like catch on and stuff like that. I made a new version of my group coaching program, which felt a lot harder to sell than my old because of the compounding effect of the brand of my old thing. I'd done so many rounds of it that I would just launch it and there it goes, it's sold out straight away.
Yeah.
Just because that's a compounding branding effect. Same with my Influence Vibes program. So it's like, what actually has built this freedom-based business is not that I have some perfect passive income strategy. It's just that I have compounded my efforts over time so that I'm front of mind for people. There's enough searchability of me on the internet. My products are well known, and that makes everything a lot easier to sell, to do, to create, to, rather than direct marketing, it's attraction marketing. And so it makes there to be a lot less work involved in what I need to do to get that end result because of that accumulation of things over time.
Yeah. I'd actually love to talk about like the shutting down of SBA, because having been a past student of that, I know that that would have been a huge decision. And this is actually something that I've noticed. I've been really watching 7-figure entrepreneurs lately and really watching what they do. And something I notice is that they actually have the fucking audacity to get rid of things that once worked and that there's actually nothing wrong with in order to make space for the new things. And when I saw you do that, I was like, she's on fire. Like, this is a pivot that she needed to like shift things up and to bring a whole new energy in. And that's definitely what you did. But tell me what that was like to actually shut down such a successful course and to make way for, you know, the birthing of something new.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, it's nothing more than creating space. Like, I have a gold mine of a product, which is my Influencer Vibes program, which with a little more love and attention could be even more of a gold mine. It does everything it needs to do right now. I think we've had like 100 and something 111 students. It's something like that. Like, it's like 110, 112 students that have enrolled this year alone. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, in February we had like 60 new enrollments out of like 4 or 5 Instagram stories. That's what I mean. That's not normal, by the way. I don't want to put it out there. You hear people talk about all the time, oh, I posted one Instagram story. This is a product that has been years in the making. It's had like 4 or 5 different names. It's got a huge brand, but it's, again, from that compound effect, like, it's at the point now where it has like momentum.
Yes.
Put it that way. But, you know, then with that energy and effort being distributed into other areas, it is just going along as it would. But if I were to put a lot more effort and attention into that, then I would be able to grow it faster, right? The thing is as well, there's many reasons that kind of led to my decision to close down my business coaching, right? That's what it is, like the business coaching aspect of my business. And I will say that a big part of it was universal guidance. Like, I am not like someone who's like, I go to strategy all the time. First of all, someone asked me, was this a rational, an emotional, or a logical decision? And I said it was all of them.
All of them.
I had a week in my business, which was, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it was challenging. I have a tendency to, you know, from ADHD, like hyperfixate on things as well. I had a bunch of opportunities come in my way, like $70,000 worth of sales in 7 days, all in the realm of people wanting to hire me for influence, branding, all of that kind of stuff, you know? Lots of conversations. Someone reached out to me, wanted to do an intensive for $8,000 for 4 weeks just for advice on their fashion brand. You know, there was just lots of stuff coming my way that was very much like the universe being like, this is the path of least resistance. And I was going through a launch of one of my programs that I was finding really challenging. You know, I've never really found launching group coaching programs in the past challenging, especially not simply business. As I've evolved it a little bit more, it just got a little bit more challenging every time. And so I will say that this path of least resistance was universal guidance. It's like you have this channel of things that can feel really easy going in this direction, but, you know, I had this thing that it's just starting to feel sticky. Yeah. And that's, in all honesty, like, it's not that it's an incredible product. You've been through it. You've been through both, you know. And they're incredible products, and I'm great at what I do there. It just started to feel sticky, and I could have kept going because I've made millions of dollars on those products, right? They've been one of the bread and butter products in my business. But when it starts to feel sticky, that's sometimes when you've just got to have that courage to be like, I need to just create space from this thing right now. You know what I mean? Like, I can keep pushing and trying to make it work, but why? When I have this other pathway. Because there's a difference. Sometimes we've got to be able to notice when, am I giving up too early? Am I giving up too soon? Am I running into the first challenge and then being like, this is too hard? That's very different to being like, I gave this a red hot go. It isn't working right now. It's working, but it's not feeling the way it should.
Yes.
Can I put this, you know, on the shelf for a little bit and possibly go and focus on the thing that doesn't have as much resistance?
I love that. I see so many people too who try to do that, right? And you reiterate and you relaunch and do all the things, right? But when it's not taking off, it's like they take it as a personal attack and they feel like they're being cancelled for trying something new. Do you think that is just, you know, the universe saying, no, that's not for you and something else is? Or do you think, like, how do you know How do you know whether it's for you and it just needs more iteration, or it's for you to let go?
I feel like you got to ask yourself the question, did I try my hardest?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you've just, I really, really, really want to do YouTube and I posted one video and it didn't blow up. That's not trying your hardest. And we know that. We're a lot smarter than we give ourselves credit for. We know when we have given something a red hot go. The biggest difference is this truly what I want? Because if you want to be a YouTuber and you've wanted to be a YouTuber your whole life and it's just not taking off after a year, but that's still in your heart really, really what you want, keep at it. Stick with it until it works. Learn everything you can learn. Find a strategy. It will eventually work. I've heard people say that they were on YouTube for 10 years and nothing happens, and then it took off.
Literally it takes off. Yeah, I've seen that.
So many times.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozi. I mean, we all know who Alex Hormozi is. Everyone thinks he came out of freaking nowhere. He said that he had his podcast for 6 years and he was posting weekly, and then it just took off last year. He became like the new hottest thing in the industry, right? So if in your heart it's like, I would be not living up to my potential if I didn't pursue this thing, then stick with it. If you know you've given it a go and it's not really working and you ask yourself, could I let this thing go and be okay with that? And the answer is yes, then it's time to explore something else.
I love that. I want to finish on a loaded question.
Okay.
Because earlier you spoke about how you have made quite a lot of changes all at once.
Yeah.
And through that, you also have gone down the route of therapy and exploring yourself and your limitations. And we talk about this all the time, like you and I personally, about how you reach a certain level in business where you can no longer retreat in order to heal and do the inner work, and you have to do both simultaneously.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what that really looks like? Because I know, like, I can just imagine that would have been a really difficult time.
Yeah.
And yet from the outside, you didn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the lesson that I've learned through it all, is that you can be both. You know what I mean? Like, you absolutely can be both. Because I, for a very long time, felt like that if I was struggling, that it was inauthentic for me to show up happy. You can be happy and sad in the same day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the weather. It can rain and it can shine. Like, that duality exists in every facet of life. It really does. And so this is what I've learned more recently, more than anything, is that just because you're struggling behind the scenes doesn't mean that you're inauthentic for showing up happy. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the thing. It's like, oh, we have to be so real and so vulnerable and we have to share everything. That completely takes away from your human experience. Can you imagine how sporadic and wild it would be if every entrepreneur showed up? Oh, you have to be authentic. Oh, I'm having a bad day. I just had a fight with my partner. I've got my period. No, we're right. You know, I think it's like there's a time and a space. If you're running a brand, whether that be a business brand, a fashion brand, a comedy brand, like that's your job. That's your work. If you work in a cafe, you don't go into that cafe. You put a smile on your face and you do your job. You don't go in and serve coffee being like, I just had a fight with my partner. I feel like shit. No one expects that. This is your job. Like, you still have to show up. What's inauthentic is being like, everything is absolutely A-okay. Like, I've never, ever had a struggle, blah, 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 all of this kind of stuff. Like, overhyping it. If someone's, you know, if you're just like, oh my God, this has been the absolute best week of my life, when it hasn't. But you can still show up and be like, I'm a teacher, I'm a mentor, I'm a leader. You can still show up and do your job.
Yeah.
And be struggling behind the scenes. And you also don't have to share every struggle with the internet. Like, that's very bad for your mental health, to feel the pressure that everything that you go through personally has to then become some lesson that you teach other people. You're allowed to have a life just because you have a personal brand.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I'm learning is that, first of all, it's okay to be both. You know, it's okay to be a human and a business at the same time. What a freaking weird concept it is anyway, if you really think about it. You know what I mean? Like, to be a human and to be a business. You yourself are a business. It's weird, right? And we don't have a rule book for this.
No.
But the thing is as well, like, learning then when to come in and be vulnerable and to share the stories and all of that kind of stuff, because I know that it's going to help other people, but also knowing when to just keep stuff for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And either way, I'm still an excellent teacher, an excellent mentor, brand strategist, marketer, business person, content creator. Because I have a bad day or a launch that was challenging or feeling insecure with my team, it doesn't take away anything that I've done.
I was just going to say, you don't ever make it mean anything about you. And that's something I really love, because it's something that so many people struggle with, especially when it comes to when you are your brand, your business. It's really hard to not take everything personally. But something I see you do really well is to not take things personally.
But I sometimes I do. Like, I can hyperfixate on certain things. I don't know that I fully create a long-lasting belief around it.
Yeah.
I can then, I guess, like, in happier times, look at the bigger picture. I can make it mean I can go into a spiral and be like, this isn't working. And so everything else is going to explode. And you know what I mean? Like, in that moment, catastrophize and be like, I'm failing, I suck and stuff like that. But I think the key of what you're seeing is that I don't make it mean things long term.
No.
Yeah. I then can get back into a positive space and be like, actually, I'm a fucking boss. You know what I mean? But the problem, I think, we're all entitled to our spirals. We're all entitled to the days where we feel like a bag of dicks. Like, I don't think it's so unrealistic to be like, you're never going to look at yourself and think a negative thought. Yeah. That's not true. No. That's so not true. No. It's what you make it mean.
Yeah.
Exactly. If it's like, okay, today I had a really bad day and I said all this really horrible stuff to myself, do I then make that my personality and my belief system and how I operate moving forward? Or do I say, ooh, that was rough, and then come back to neutrality?
Yeah. And that's the key, right? It's your ability. And I talk about this all the time. People want to talk about speed and collapsing time in business and quantum leaping and all the shit, right? But really, it's about how fast you can move through the shit that comes up.
Yeah.
Right? And how fast you can come back to that neutral position. And we really want to, like, my son Harrison is going through this phase at the moment where everything has to be good or bad.
Yeah.
It's a bad man. And is that a good man? And he's like really obsessed with seeing good or bad. But it really got me thinking, like, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We want to make everything like one or the other and never neutral in the middle. But that's really the key.
And it's what you said before. Like, does it have to be hustle or does it have to be flow? It can be both.
It's both. Yeah, the flip between the two.
And it's simply just about finding what your middle is.
Yeah.
Because there's really no actual middle. There's no balance. There's no equilibrium. There is only your center.
Yeah.
And finding your balance of, now it's time to hustle. Now it's time to flow. Now it's time to break out in a panic and say the whole entire world's burning. Now it's time to actually look at myself in the mirror. And look at myself in the mirror and be like, you're a fucking queen.
Yeah. I love this. I feel like we've covered so much in this episode. Let's finish with where we can find you, what's going on in the Chillpreneur world. Because something we haven't spoken about is the launch of a whole new product range.
Yeah.
What?
So my partner and I, Tegan, who is behind the camera and the audio, we just launched Not Busy, which is a product line that will eventually be lots and lots of different collections of streetwear. It's really emphasizing the lifestyle that we live, but also it's a change in perspective.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. We all say it, whether we're hanging out with friends, whether we're traveling, whether
it's like a measure of how cool you are. I'm so busy right now.
But the thing is, like, we're all busy. Everyone has, everyone fills their day with something, whatever it be, playing games or traveling.
Yeah.
We're all busy, but really we're just living.
Yeah.
We all are just living, and it's that falling back into gratitude that we do get to do that.
Yeah.
And so we launched our product line, which is really amazing. But other than that, we have lots of exciting stuff happening in the Chillpreneur company as well. We will really be doubling down and focusing on marketing and helping people build their audience and prioritizing more accessible products. You know what I mean? We are going into just a different economic time right now. That's the other thing that I'm not naive about. I know there's lots of people being like, it doesn't matter. Here's a $40,000 coaching package. But we want to make it accessible for people to learn how to build an extraordinary brand, an extraordinary business.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for being here today, honestly. I want to just finish by saying I fucking manifested this shit. I wrote this in my journal like a year ago, and here we are right now because I recoded everything else that was in the way.
I loved it.